was like painting out there, and he built all those mine sequences in his walls, and he killed all those people so we can have those bodies. No, I wanted to speak to this guy here. We put in a lot of work, but this guy put in like a stupid amount of work. So we're really good. So that's how it started, and that's how we got here. And hopefully I answered all your questions with that. Sorry. No, I'm excited to say something. I haven't been here.
Well, Tom, did you work on the soundtrack for the film as well, or?
Yeah, we did the soundtrack. You know, we originally thought, we weren't sure what we were going to do. You know, we thought, like, obviously we put our music in the film, but it didn't, we ended up, like, halfway through it realizing that we didn't want to distract the audience with our normal music and have me singing all over the, you know, the movie itself. We always tell people that the message is bigger than the band, you know, and I think this film really shows that. So we didn't want it to be just about us, you know. So we didn't put any singing in there. It's really just all these compositions that were either taken from the record or wrote new ones that are coming out with this movie on a double album. So there's going to be all this other music that we heard in the film, but no, we all did it, and really fun too. Like, you know, I've never done that before, where you get to, we would watch the movie and create these feelings with it. It was really inspiring as a musician to do it that way.
And I think the cool part of this too is it's not cool that it took so long, but I think part of that process was a lot of the themes and the things that we were going through and building and pieces, like the band was always able to see kind of what was evolving, so cues and pieces of score were always kind of being developed as the process went along, which was really, you know, you don't really get that much time to think about these things sometimes. You just go, okay, here's 1 month, make it, you know. So
it would challenge us too, because he would come with temp music that'd be like something like this. We'd be like, you know, we don't normally just do stuff like that, but it really challenged us to write in different ways. So I think that all of us learned a bit during the past. How long was it? 15 years maybe? 26. But also, I just really quickly wanted to thank my family for building all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember when I was like $10 who taught me, he's the guy who taught me what a compound miter angle was from a miter angle, so thanks, Ben. And he's also in the film. I got to thank your parents, too, because like literally for years, I'm sure they were like, okay, this dude comes into your life and he like makes you quit your job and then you start building crazy shit in our driveway. But no, they've been so supportive. So this is like, you guys don't understand how hard it is to make a movie, and that's the coolest thing about this is like, you know, you watch this shit and sometimes you think it's fairly simple, but you can go out and film an entire movie with the cameras and the lights, and just to set up one shot, just to get him with a pencil could take like an hour to get that shot ready or some shit. And even when it's completely done, you have no sound. It's just moving pictures. So then you got to do all this sound, and a lot of times you got to do the dialogue again to get it even clearer. And then you got to do all the sound effects, and then you got to do all the music, and then you got to mix it all. And it's so difficult. And to think, you know, what Will was able to do, you know, with nothing, you know, I mean, we don't have it, we're not in the studio, you know, and that's the cool thing about independent films. That's the whole idea of it, is that these people are making these films with nothing, you know. They're just not doing Civil War scenes and space scenes and spaceships, and there's a reason why, because it's hard, you know. I think Will and I are the only ones that know how to build a spaceship. And Mark knows how to do it. Yeah, Mark actually got in there too.
It's so funny because we'd be like trying to get the right guest to put a screw, and we would get it, and we'd be like, that's fine. And then Mark would be like, it's fine. Well, Will and Gunnar, can you guys talk about the collaborative process between you two and how you guys worked on visually creating this Sentence of Madness, creating this feeling of isolation, and also Will, Gunnar as an actor, how you approached it and how you worked with Will on that?
Yeah, actually, first off, and to be able to sit in front of Tom, being here with his fans, it was really his music that started this whole project. I mean, in my opinion, Heaven, Love Like Rockets, Letters to God 2, they're cinematic metaphors for, you know, something special, and the music happens to be the byline. So Will had approached me in '07 and said, hey man, listen, after we had done a little work together and said, hey, Tom DeLonge, I don't know if you know him. I said, yeah, I know who he is. Approached me with this project, and we think you might be great for the astronaut, and started telling me some of his ideas from the very beginning based on some of the feeling, the music. Was it Love Like Rocket that kind of...
Yeah, the first time I ever sat down with you guys, we were sitting on the couch in that little old older studio apartment. You played me Love Like Rocket, and that's where that song that I started turning my head and was thinking about a guy going up to space again.
Which is amazing, really. It's not just like some pop song. I mean, there's a lot of more depth to it. So really, from that moment on, outside of just working with Will, with kind of exploring what this film was going to evolve to, a lot of times we just throw in some music, especially for me, not having a lot of actors to work with. I look at NASA books, I look at books, some of the books that Will used to actually build the space station, and then kind of a lot of times I'd put just a few songs that touched me and would use that to kind of get into a mode or a mood, you know.
Visually, Will, do you want to talk about?
Just visually, the cool part was, you know, while we were building, we were able to make that evolution a lot of the time in terms of how, you know, messed up the station was getting, and there was a lot of little serendipitous things, like the coat that he's wearing towards the end, that's kind of like, and he makes that little fort within the station, and he covers up all the windows. It's because he doesn't really want to accept anymore that he's stuck in space, so he tries to sort of build this little environment within an environment and sort of finds his way into a comfort zone by always being in a coat, by having this little tent within the ship, and by covering all the windows so he can't see out. So that's like a big part of that sort of isolation and creeping in further and further sort of during the film.
Let me say something more about that. Is being such a small movie and it's basically, you know, Will and a couple people, and Gunnar doesn't have a continuity person and stuff like that. This movie was shot over the course of many years, and some of these scenes, you know, some of the scene was shot, you know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and some of it was shot last year. And with, you know, deconstructing the set the way it needed to be as he was, you know, slipping deeper into madness, that stuff wasn't always shot last. And so it's a testament to these guys as filmmakers and Gunnar as an actor to be able to get right back into the character's emotions in that scene when it was, you know, when he was deep into madness, and then get the set, you know, in that same place, and then, you know, be able to cut the scene together and no one is the wiser. And then, you know, the very next day we had to clean up the set and make it look pristine again, and then Gunnar's got to be, you know, the you know, normal mindset that he was at the very beginning. And, you know, to be able to do that on the fly with not a lot of people and just Gunnar being able to, in the coldest of temperatures too, there was times where he was in the mini shorts when it was
Woo!
Wow! And it's just a testament to these guys as filmmakers to be able to pull that off as well as they did.
I got one more question, and I'll turn it to the audience. One of the things that really impressed me about this film was just conceptually how the story was put together and how you start off grounded right on the earth. The more and more the film progresses, the farther and farther you get away from not only earth but reality in general. And was that something that you knew going right away, or was that something that you guys developed together and this is kind of the direction? Because I know that the ending is very subjective in a sense, and just wondering kind of if you can talk about your thoughts on that.
It's definitely a big part of it. You know, sort of this idea of you know, having like our interaction, yours and my interaction being what grounds me as a person, you know, connections and the people that we know and love and have feelings for or dislike or whatever. All those feelings are what make us a human being. So if you don't have somebody to bounce that off of, then you potentially have nobody proving to yourself that even you exist. So his balance just continually gets warped further and further as that concept of connection slips away from him. So that's why the film really starts to sort of break up literally towards the end. So,
Tom, did you have anything to say in this, since this is based off some of your music?
Yeah, you know, the way we worked with Will was, I think instantly Will became a guy that was, I grew up with Mark, number one. So I've known Mark since I was really young, and we had a whole group of friends, and Dave Kennedy, that's in the band as well. That's why Mark's always been working with Angels and Airwaves. And whenever we find somebody that we click with, they become part of our gang pretty quickly, and Will was one. So when we met Will, he's instantly, he's a part of our clan, and I think